Do we have any translation needs? Seeing none, then we'll go on with approval of the agenda.
I motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries. Now we'll go on to public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go on to student representative reports.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good evening, even though it's very cold. But as for my student representative report, I wanted to give some final comments on community nights. So before I begin, I want to give a huge thank you to Mrs. Garza and Dr. Meek for advertising this night through Parent Square. This is going to get a lot of more participation from parents. And I'm going to go over on how this night will end up. So basically, it will begin at 6 o'clock, and me and Katie will begin a small, brief introduction of how the night will work. The school board will be standing up on the stage or sitting down with chairs, while the audience or any participants who attend will sit at the MMS auditorium seats that will already be set up for us with the microphone. And it will be back and forth conversation just as the ones from the school board site visits. And I want to thank every school board member in advance, or to those who will attend or not attend. Do we have any questions?
Is it for all parents, K through 6, K through 12, I mean?
Yes, it's open to anyone in the public.
Great.
Any more questions? Well, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are staying warm. My message out is this week we have a dress up week for mini homecoming, which is this Saturday at the OHS main gym from 8 to 11 p.m. So it's gonna be a really fun and exciting week. Today was your favorite comfy clothes, so kids would show up in like pajamas, comfy clothes, and tomorrow we would have a favorite sweater or favorite jacket day. So it was kind of easy to plan out as a leadership class, to plan something that everyone could be involved in, because dress-up days at the high school are kind of been an issue. So we're trying to find ways to find a solution for that. So it's been going great so far.
Great, thank you. On to board member discussion.
I want to discuss we have to take that class 90 days, and so I was wondering what days would work for you guys so that maybe Marisa could help us out, so we could set that up, so we could have it here. So I don't know if you guys got the email or not, but what day would work for you guys?
Yep, I responded to your email. Any of those days, the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 12th, and the lunchtime would be fine with me. So
Yeah, same for me.
Same?
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm open to whatever day works for all of us. So whatever day is easiest for you, Marisa, to help us set that all up and whatever, we'll do whatever day is easiest for you.
Is that the open public meetings training? Now, I believe that one is required every 4 years.
I think that is what they said at the meeting, yes.
So if that's the case, I think
We're
it's possible Lindsay and I will have to retake it again.
I didn't get the email. It was March 6th.
So the email, maybe we'll have Marisa send it out to you and to Ken. There were several days on there that she made available to us.
Okay.
We're just, because we like to have Marisa help us through everything, we'd just like to pick a day where it's easiest for her, and then we'd all work it around her schedule.
Perfect.
And for Director Johnson and Director Prowse, if it's a refresher, this is an online course you can take on your own at any time.
Okay.
So we could get you the link as well if you just wanted to go through that, or you could all join that same day.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead. No, the only reason we decided, Pete, was to have it, all three of us, because this training that we went to for the WASDA was very informative. So we were hoping this one was too, and we could all kind of talk about it, so.
yeah, so this last Saturday, Director Burdetta, Director Brzezinski, and I got to go to board boot camp in Prosser. It was really fun, and like you said, really informative. helped a lot with how to be a board member. So we're excited about that.
Great.
Yeah, and like I said, Pete, there was a board member from the Board of Vancouver, and she was made sure that she actually ran in front of the car and made sure that we said hi to you and make sure you were doing good. They were very, God, I can't remember her name, Aaronite, for the life of me, I can't remember, but she said you would remember her. She was the only Latina on the board in Vancouver.
Mhm.
Okay, Aaron, do you have a legislative report?
Nothing for us this week.
Okay. Any further board member discussion?
I was going to say I had the opportunity to attend the high school's jazz night this last week, and it was really enjoyed being there. Assistant Superintendent Shank was there as well, although neither of us won anything in the auction, so that was too bad. But other than that, it was really good.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go on to the required approvals. Do I have a motion for the required approvals?
I will motion to approve the required approvals.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries. Now we'll go on to required approvals, accounts payable warrants 2, and this one I will be abstaining from. Do we have a motion? Accounts payable warrants 2 is payable to Johnson's Glass and More, so I will be abstaining from that.
I motion to approve required approvals, accounts payable warrants 2.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries.
Oh.
So we'll go on to accounts payable warrants 3.
I will make a motion to approve required approvals, accounts payable warrants 3.
And I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With one abstention, okay. Okay, now we'll go on to superintendent informational items.
Yes, good evening to everyone. Wanted to let the community know that we're about 80 to 85% through the process of strategic planning. We spent about the last year and a half preparing for the process, and then the last several months actually going through it, and we're at a critical stage right now that's going to involve the board. I know some of you have been involved in other capacities in some of the planning teams and some of the community groups. Some of you were here last week as we talked about the graduate profile. But this evening we have Dr. Tammy Campbell from the Scholar First, who's been leading us through the process. And she's going to lead the board through a process this evening to pick your brains, to have you share your ideas and your comments to help inform the work. And so I want to turn it over to Dr. Campbell and her team.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Perez, and guests. We're excited to share progress made with the strategic plan. And after we give you an overview of some of the products, we'll also share some of the themes from listening and learning. We'll have Superintendent Perez just give you some summaries from some of those themes. And then we will have each of you to individually give us some words or phrases that you think are going to be critical to be in the mission statement. I'm going to go ahead and share screens with you. Just give me 1 minute. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we want to share where we are in the strategic planning process, and we also want to gather your voice on the words and phrases that you believe will be essential to be in the Othello mission statement. I want to remind you about what happens when you strategic plan. I will say this doesn't always happen, but when you have broad stakeholder voice and input, it can be a transformational process for the district. But it presents the district with an opportunity to really assess what's working and what's not. By getting a lot of people in the space and place, you get ownership and more people committed to implementation. I will tell you, having board members, the mayor, parents, students, staff in the room on the profile of a graduate will guarantee that there will be many people who will champion that profile, but also who will be looking to see how it's implemented. It also allows you to go deeper on the work and apply research in the ways in which we go about identifying practices and our goals and metrics. When it's done right, with lots of input, you move from this misalignment on the left to more alignment on the right. We've had lots of different committees coming to bear on the strategic planning process. The way I've designed the strategic planning process that I use is that it's not about a one-day event or even a 5-day event with 5 people. There are lots of moving pieces, lots of stakeholders, and what that ensures is that when it's done, it'll be much more likely that it will be implemented well all across the district. And for tonight, we're engaging with you, the governance team, to assess your voice on a specific and most important part of the strategic plan, which will be in your actual hard copy, your mission statement. We hold ourselves accountable to all of the products that have to be included in a transformational strategic plan. And you can see we're making steady progress. The first, I want to say 10 items on the list are what take a lot of time, which is why we know we're about 85% done, because the last 3 or 4 items are things that happen after the plan has been approved. So we're getting very close to this plan being completed, and where we will be bringing it back to you, board members, for our final approval. Here's some imagery of all the different groups that we have engaged in. At this point, you can see we're almost at 1,500 different stakeholders who touch the process. And that's no matter how big or small the district is, we really pride ourselves on getting lots of stakeholders who feel like, yeah, my fingerprint's on that plan. What we're going to do now is share with you the listening and learning themes. And I'm going to ask Superintendent Perez to just give you an overview. We won't necessarily read all of the different details, but we will tell you that we had surveys that went to students, families, and staff. We're going to share with you what those different stakeholder groups said, and we're going to share it with you for around 4 questions. Each of them were asked 4 questions, and what we did for each of those questions, we generated 3 or 4 themes. I'll hand it over to you now, Superintendent Perez, and I'll listen for your cues to advance slides.
All right, so we did engage with a number of students through a survey and through some focus group conversations. And so we asked them for words that come to mind when they think about their time spent in our schools. And this is what they shared with us. The first theme was that they had mixed emotions about their experience, right? We have nearly 4,500 kids, approaching 4,700 kids in our school district, and it was mixed. Some said that even one individual said it's tiring, fun, and stressful. You can feel the mixed emotions in those statements. So I think a pretty typical response. The second theme that we identified is that students value learning and classrooms that are engaging. They want to feel like what they're doing is important, that it's relevant, and that it contributes to what should be happening for them in schools. They really want good instruction. A third theme that we identified from the students was that they really like seeing their friends, the social aspects of school. And I think if we learned anything during the pandemic, it was how difficult it can be to feel isolated. And that when you come to school, for many of our students, they find friendship and motivation and an opportunity to hang out with their friends. So it was nice to hear them share that. Then we asked them to think about a time when they were successful at school, when you had a good experience, when something went well for you. Tell us about that. And one of the themes that they shared with us is that support from teachers really mattered, and that was across all grade levels. When the teacher believes in me, when the teacher thinks I can do it, I'm more likely to be successful. So having a really caring and skilled teacher was important to them. A second theme that they shared is that their own study habits, right, their own ownership of their learning, being prepared, listening and studying and practicing, and this maybe leans itself a little bit towards that compliance part. This trusted adult asked me to do this thing, I'm going to comply, and when I see that it works, I'm more likely to do it over. So really appreciated the student ownership in this one. A third theme is working in a positive environment and having an interest in the topic. I think that's true for all of us, even as adults. Do I like the people that I'm working with? You probably see it as a board member. We just heard Director Pruneda say, yeah, we kind of want to do this class together, though, because we learn from one another. That experience is consistent for our kids as well. A third question we asked our students is, think about a time when you weren't successful. This is the other side of the coin, when things didn't go so well for you. They talked about distractions and peer influences as a barrier. So maybe friends, I think the ever-present technology and cell phones that exist for many of our students, but being distracted in class certainly was a barrier for them. Some of our students indicated that teacher-related challenges and lack of motivation were identified as roadblocks. So just like they said when they were successful that a good teacher really mattered, when they didn't feel as connected to a teacher, direct quote here, when the teacher who didn't teach well, what does that mean for a kid? How would they identify that someone's not doing well? Well, they compare it to someone who does a good job with them and who meets their needs. And really appreciated the quality of responses from our kids around this one. Some students also identified feeling overwhelmed with schoolwork and maybe not understanding what was being taught. So for some of our high school students, maybe Katie and Sebastian would agree with us. There are times where you look at your schedule for the next trimester and say, oh, that's going to be a tough one. I know I'm going to have homework in these 4 areas, and then maybe another trimester it might feel a little bit different. But that sense of feeling overwhelmed, I think, is present for a number of our students, and they shared that as a concern. Now, the final question we asked them, if you had a magic wand and can do one thing to make school better, what would you do? And they get back to this idea about engagement and learning. They want to be in classrooms that feel good, that the work matters, and that they feel like they matter. That's what they were asking us. Having teachers who really care about you. That's what our kids want. They also mentioned the emotional well-being of students and addressing bullying. So if kids are being targeted in class, maybe aren't feeling connected to the school, that the school is doing something about that the adults in the environment are addressing those concerns. This, again, gets back to that idea of relationships, similar to the last theme, but that there's strong ties between the teachers and the students. That they're understand the subject, certainly, but they're also interested in the person, the people that we are developing, that profile of a graduate. What do you want a kid to be like when they leave the Othello School District? And that last theme, I think, is pretty cool about that our kids would say that our kids would identify that. So really consistent with what we heard from the adults as well. And then we talked to some parents and community members, and here's what they shared with us. Very similar questions. When you think of culture in the Othello School District, and the idea about family-oriented, that this is a sense of community and a sense of family, was really clear in the data.
It was overwhelming. This was like an overwhelming theme for your district. It was almost, I've never heard it said by so many people. I just want to share that.
The diversity of students in the school district, so community diversity, bilingual, bicultural aspects that live in most of our schools, and certainly as a focus for the work at Luticaga, but that diversity of experience of students in this school district was something that came to mind when they thought of culture. Concerns and challenges associated with the school district. So are we getting the same experience for our kids at each of the elementaries, the 4 elementaries? Is there a sense of unity amongst the schools? And then this idea, are we emphasizing on academics or excelling, or just get everyone to the same level? Are we being really clear about the outcomes we want? And then a 4th theme was having a student-first focus was connected to the culture of the Othello School District, that everyone here does put kids first. They're doing the best they can to make sure that we help every student in any way possible. What 2 to 3 things are working in the Othello School District to ensure success? So again, looking for some themes here. Effective communication between schools and the community. So using Skyward and Parent Square to communicate and get messages out, people were appreciative of that. Particularly at the elementary level, getting that information out, and also communication from teachers and counselors if a student was having an area where they might need some additional support. Those were clear themes that came out from our survey. They also felt like teachers genuinely caring about their students, that most of our staff do in fact believe that and behave that way, and that there are some key educators that look out for students. That was important for ensuring student success. So just like we heard from our kids, when I think the teacher cares about me and it seems like they're putting in the effort to make sure I'm successful, I'm successful. Parents said exactly the same thing. They also highlighted the special programs and extracurricular opportunities that are available for our kids. Number of things happening K-12 to allow our kids to feel connected to the school district beyond the classroom. A fourth theme was the focus on student success and providing supports. So challenging students to be their best, to reach their potential, helping students, hoping that students have this sense of belief that our staff have in them. And our community members said, yeah, that exists in our school district. And then we asked them some things that we could improve on to strengthen student success. So, interesting irony, they just said we're great communicators, but there were some who said we need improved communication, particularly between the teacher and the parent involving academics, beyond perhaps that 2 or 3 times a year in parent-teacher conferences. More
This
information on a regular basis.
This usually comes up when you have inconsistent practices across schools. Some schools may be doing this well and some won't. So you can get one thing that's a strength, and then on the other hand, it can be an area to improve because parents are having different experiences.
They also identified greater resources and opportunities for students to receive academic support. So this is where some real specific ideas around after-school programs, those kinds of activities for our kids, so that they can have the additional supports that they might need to be successful. A third theme was discipline and behavior were identified as areas for improvement. Certainly there have been some changes to the consequences for student behavior in the state of Washington the last 5 years. And so communicating that to some of our families who may have had students in the system earlier, and have we been clear enough about communicating that, talking about our grading system and some of the changes we made there. There were some concerns about ways we could improve that. And then a fourth one was consistency and support for grading systems. And I think this certainly should be tied to our standards-based grading initiative, and that particularly at this time of the school year when the survey was taken, that there was certainly a need for clarity in making sure everyone understood what direction we're headed. And I think we've made some progress there, but certainly some work still to be done. And then if we had a top priority, what would it be? And student accountability was one, making sure that we're holding students accountable for their behavior. Another one was training and support for teachers to better meet student needs. So that whole concept of making sure that our staff, that the challenges that they face in the classroom day to day, we're making sure that they're prepared to deal with those and providing the training and support they need. The importance of engaging in challenging learning opportunities for students. So this concept about positive reinforcement for middle and high school students that are discouraged. Again, that gets back to a belief. Do the adults here believe in me? If I am at standard, are they pushing me to a higher level? And that's where these things like a profile of a graduate and strategic planning come into place. Here are the targets that we're shooting for every kid in our system. And then a fourth theme was meeting the students' social and emotional well-being. How do they feel about themselves, and are they connected to people at our school?
And you can see similar themes that are traveling across students and families as well, just worded in sort of different ways.
And then we asked our staff to give us some feedback on very similar questions. And when they think of culture in Othello, here's that theme again of family-oriented, just like we heard from our community. They expressed concerns with leadership and management. So the same voices getting all the airtime with buildings and at the district office. And certainly this is, I've talked with the board before about my view on a school district systems and those layers and how we work. And I think you also see this reflected in my own superintendent goals around making sure we have strong partnerships with our associations. But as you can see here, still some work to be done in that area.
I want to give you a big shout out though, Superintendent Perez. Sometimes quotes like this would be buried and not shared out. So that speaks to your commitment to addressing it.
Diversity of the community was identified as being part of the culture of the school district. So again, this diverse group of students and families that come to our schools every day, some continuity across the data. And having a student-centered focus, we identified that in one of the other areas as well. So again, consistency and continuity in the different stakeholder groups. So what's working well? The focus on SEL was viewed as an important factor for student success. So when we hear our families saying, hey, we need to have a focus on this, and then we hear our staff saying, hey, we're paying attention to this, we like to see that continuity as well, responsive to what our families are saying. The implementation of data-driven practices, positive outcomes, right? That we're gonna pick things that work well, and that's what strategic planning is all about. What's working well, what's not working so well, and then what's the research say we should do next? So it's nice to see that our staff believes we've been working in that way, and I think that's why this strategic planning process is gonna be a nice, Dr. Campbell referred to it as a pause for us to sort of, what's next for us in the system to move forward? Holding high expectations and providing targeted supports for students. Making sure that everyone knows we expect their best when they come to school, and we believe that they can give their best effort, and our job is to support them when they're there every day. And then things we could improve on. Supports based on the emotional and academic needs were identified as key. We need to understand who our students are better. Our students said, hey, we want teachers who really know us, and our teachers are saying, hey, we really need to get to know our kids. So how do we make that through line? How do we draw that connection? Ongoing professional development for staff is needed to improve student outcomes. We heard that earlier, that we need to continue to train, and so it's encouraging to see that our people continue to want to learn. The alignment of curriculum and effective instructional practices for student growth. How are we making sure that we're getting consistent experiences for students? This idea about calibrated and aligned practices has started to be a theme for us. Even now, as we get ready to launch this strategic plan, we're already doing work in this area because our staff are asking for it. Open communication and partnerships between schools, parents, and students is essential. So again, this idea about communication coming across different stakeholder groups. And then the last question, what's the top priority for us? Equitable and inclusive education for all students, making sure that we pick the best approaches for every kid so they have the best chance to be successful. Partnerships with parents was a common goal, making sure that parents feel engaged. Parents responded to us in their survey by saying, we want you to communicate with us. We want you to tell us what our kids need and how they're doing, and more than just conferences. So nice to see that this priority for us also is similar to what the parents shared. Strategic planning and consistency around common goals to improve student outcomes. So certainly we have felt the need. Dr. Campbell's visual of the arrows that are sort of all over the place on the left-hand side and then aligned the other way. We've been living in that left-hand side for too long, and our staff have recognized and felt that as well.
Okay. Board members, comments, questions? Well, as you can see, we've got quite a bit of information that will help us as we frame up the practices and as we look to see where are we addressing these big themes. And I can tell you, just looking at some of what we're already sort of galvanizing around and cementing in your plan, we will have system-wide approaches to addressing some of what's coming out of your listening and learning. So this is a powerful activity to do, to sort of pause and to get a sense of what your external and internal community thinks is working, what's not, and where might we focus. I want to share with you some of the products that the different stakeholders have come together and co-constructed. And the first is the vision of the student experience. This is the new vision for the Othello School District. It will be in your schools, it will be socialized, and it will be the driver for all of the goals in the strategic plan. And most importantly, what I want you to notice about it, it's written in student-friendly language and it's student-centered. Here are the new Othello core values. I want you to take a minute to just read these, get the big ideas. I welcome any comments from board members. If you see something, a core value that's really resonating with you and why you got on the board or how you view the work of board members, please, you're free to make comments or give feedback.
Just like we saw a lot of community coming up in the feedback, I think that's big for all of us. You know, most of us grew up here and went to high school here and have our families here, so community is a big thing. I also recognize that, so Dr. Perez sends us like a little video each week about summarizing kind of what's going on in the district, and he breaks it down by these 3 things. So he's way ahead of the game.
Nice.
These. So I've been a small part of the process and have been in a couple of different meetings, and the last one that I was at was here in the boardroom, and we were in different groups, and Dr. Perez was trying to start the meeting, but I didn't know, and so I was talking at my table, and I was talking to a student that had asked the question. The majority of the table, I think there were 6 of us sitting there, born and raised here in Othello. And so she said, I have to ask, like, why are you here? You know, all I can think about is graduating and moving on. Like, why did you make your way back to Othello? What happened? And so we were each just sharing our experiences that we, you know, left for college or left for different things at a period in our lives. But when it came down to, like, what's important to me and what do I want, it's this sense of community that I know for myself and the other people at that table, we have not been able to find anywhere else that we have been throughout our lives in our travels. And so I do think we have something special in this community, and I think that it says a lot how many people grow up here and return here as adults or never leave in the first place to have their families and to raise them here, because there's just something, I don't know what it is, but we've got something really special in this community.
I just want to go back to those videos that Pete sets out for us, or at least for me. It's a weekly thing that he does, and he uses this model here, and it feels good that we might hear a lot of other things, and when he uses this model and he tells us weekly of how our schools are doing, it just makes you feel really good about the things that are going on here. I know that I appreciate it a lot. Like Lindsay said, you know, we're pretty much from here. We want to keep this here. And this model, like I said, the way he puts it out for us, you could tell that it's taken over, and I really like it, and I appreciate those on Fridays. We actually look forward to it. I appreciate it really.
I hear so much pride, and you know, I have given a couple shout outs to your superintendent. I'm doing 5 of these right now, and there is something about the way he can create, pull people together to really come to some really high quality products. And it's because of his leadership that I feel like this process has just been so solid. So it's also nice to hear evidence of that happening with the board superintendent team. So these core values describe the way every staff member behaves in the district, but this is also your personal message to anyone interviewing and wanting to come to your district to say, here are our core values, here's what we're about. If you want to work here, these are things that are important to all of us. So pretty compelling set of values that are being lived out throughout your community. Another product we created, this is mainly for the central office, and I'll explain why it was critical. But before I do, I want to share with you some research. This is called a theory of action. And there are different organizations that do them. Sometimes they can take weeks or months. I use a process where it literally will take us 3 meetings to do it, to get to the refinement. But the reason you do it, you really want to pull different stakeholders together to backwards map from the classroom to the central office what has to happen for the strategic plan to actually happen. And when you do this, you get better agreement and alignment, which we keep hearing that word alignment, because all of these people are in the room to sort of say, this is what we need to do when we work backwards. You get clarity around different roles, different expectations, and you're going to be clear about how you're going to invest your time and resources. And we do this before we actually identify the practices. So this is very tiny writing, but what I want you to recognize on that far right column is what is in the vision of the student experience, what we want the learner to experience. And then we took each of these statements and we worked backwards to say, well, what will an educator do if that were to happen? What will a principal or assistant principal have to do to support the educator so that the learner does this? And then what will the central office have to do? By doing this, no matter where a person works in your central office, whether they're in transportation or HR, they're going to be able to look in that left far column under the district leaders and identify their actions to support this vision. Also, what the district will do, especially the central office leaders, they will pick 1 or 2 of these items for professional development for principals, also for educators. When we met to identify the different practices that the district will focus on over the next few years, they had this document in front of them so that you're not just pulling things out of a hat, you're using the backwards map from our vision to do it. And so it also creates alignment between the principals, the school leaders, and central office leaders by engaging in this process. In this particular document, this theory of action should last you 3 to 4 years. It will be sort of the guardrails to the strategic plan. From there, we created goal areas and outcomes. We will have 4 goal areas, and they are framed in this way. Goal area 1, safety and belonging. Now think about that feedback around safety, not wanting to have bullying, wanting students to be held accountable. All of that will fall under goal 1, and that is encompassed by social emotional learning as well as belonging and identity development. The next 3 goal areas, goal 2, 3, and 4, are academic goals. Goal 2 is early learning goal. Goal 3 is grade level mastery of standards, and goal 4 is career college ready. It's all about the high school and what happens at the high school so that our scholars, our students are graduating on time. And here's how it will work when we roll this out in the fall. Every school will have goal 1 as one of their 2 goals. They'll have 2 goals, but everybody has to have this safety and belonging goal. Depending on the level, they will then choose a second goal. If I'm at elementary school, I might have goal 1 or goal 2. They could also choose goal 1 or goal 3 if they're in elementary school. If they are middle school, they could have goal 1 and goal 3. That would be their option. Goal 1 and goal 3 for middle school. And high schools will have goal 1 and goal 4. And they will keep these goals for the next 6 years. The goals stay the same. What they are constantly getting better at are the practices. And when we were in your district this past week, we were in the room with a large group of teachers and building administrators, and they're right now in the middle of identifying 6 to 9 practices that they're going to focus on no matter the school. We call these non-negotiables, so that you can start to really see that academic improvement happening as well as the social emotional improvement. We're currently these are the products we're working on. Several of you were at the profile or graduate. Well, that profile is close to complete, and we've got feedback. So right now, they are integrating that feedback to finalize that draft. We're working on practices for each of the goal areas. So we're not just saying, here is the goal area. We actually now have outcomes and practices within each of the goal areas. So we will then have performance targets so you can assess if whether or not schools are making progress over time. We will soon be working with Superintendent Perez and his team to identify foundations. These are district initiatives. And today, you're going to give us the words and phrases that are going to be important to have in the district mission statement, because one of the most important things that a school board does, the governance team does, is identify why the district exists and a sort of a summary statement about how you believe the district can go about accomplishing why it exists. And then the last, one of the most exciting and fun things that happens at the end, we will work with your core planning team, which is another committee. They will generate 4 to 5 draft taglines, promise statements. We send those out to students, staff, and families. They vote, and the one with the most votes will then be the promise statement for your new strategic plan. That's how we'll brand your plan around that promise statement. So let's talk about a mission statement. What is a mission statement? The district mission statement describes why the district exists, who it serves, and what actions it's taking to accomplish the vision. Tonight, you are not actually going to have to write one in a very formal sense of the word, but you will seed the mission statement. And by that, I mean, for example, I started my day out with working with the team in West Valley, Spokane. We had a board meeting about a month ago. The board gave words or phrases. This writing committee took all the words and phrases from the board and they crafted up a mission statement. And then the superintendent takes it back to the board one more time to look at it. That's what you're doing tonight. You're giving us the words and phrases. So let's unpack a mission statement. This is one just from another district. So who the district serves in this particular statement? Students. That's who it serves. Why it exists? Well, it exists to empower all students to discover and achieve their potential. That's the first part. What actions will this district take in an inclusive, inspiring, and innovative culture of learning? Those are all the parts of the mission statement. So the first is who it serves, students. Secondly, why it exists. It exists to empower all students so they discover and achieve their potential. What actions in an inclusive, inspiring, and innovative culture of learning? Let's look at another one. Who? I'm going to ask the board. Can you tell me who is the focus in this next mission statement? Who is the focus of the district? What word will tell you that?
Students.
Exactly. Why does the district exist according to this mission statement?
They're preparing students for college and life.
Exactly. What actions are they saying they're going to take? What actions do you see in that statement? Because you've got the why, they're preparing all students. Well, how are they saying they're going to do that?
Providing a challenging curriculum.
Yes, that's one of the things.
Connecting the students' lives and their future.
Yep,
And then doing all that in a safe, supportive, and nurturing environment.
that's exactly right. That's basically sort of unpacking, deconstructing a mission statement. Here is the vision of the student experience. Remember how we got this. We listened to students all across your school district. We themed what the students said. It's different than the listening and learning data you saw tonight. We basically asked students, what does it feel like when they belong? And we asked them, what does it feel like when they're successful, when they were successful at learning something? We took what they said, and that is how this writing group, the DLT, drafted up this vision of the student experience. So with that in mind, I want you to think about the vision, and I want each of you to jot down key words or phrases that you think should be included in the new Othello mission statement. Now, it says record in the chat box. We know you don't have a chat box. You're just going to read them out loud. And Marisa will record them, and we will take what you say to our next, to our writing group, and they're going to write the new mission statement based on the board's input. So take about the next, I'd say 5 to 7 minutes. You'll let Pete, you'll let me know when all board members have finished writing. And I want you to write 2 or 3 words or phrases. You're not trying to write the mission statement, but what words or phrases you think will be important to put in the new mission statement.
Aaron, can I use your pen? The one you're not using? Oh, never mind.
Superintendent Perez, just let me know when everyone's done, and then we'll have them share it out loud.
Okay. Dr. Campbell, while they're processing that, would you be interested in hearing from our student reps, or you just want to hear from our 5 board members?
That's a great question. Typically, we haven't had student reps during this particular session, so I would say if the board is open to it, we certainly can have our student reps who are sitting on the board participate.
All right, we'll have them add a few as well then. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. About another 30 seconds, and then maybe we'll start down here with Director Gerber. Is that going to be okay? Sebastian, we'll save you to the end. Okay, Dr. Campbell, we'll start here at one end of the podium and kind of work our way across. Is that okay? That's perfect.
All right, so let's start with Director Gerber.
Great. So some of the first things I wrote down, assuming we want to be student-focused, all of us are here because we want the students to succeed, and that's going to be the focus of our plan, I would think. And then just from the feedback and everything that we've all said, we've all mentioned the community. Even though it's student-focused, I think we could have something in there about how it's also for the good of improving the community, because that's very important to all of us. I would also like something in there about diversity, maybe the system that champions our diversity, and makes everyone remember that that's a good thing, that the diversity in our community is a positive thing that can help us. And then the last thought I wrote down was just kind of that we give the skills, the education, the opportunity to enable these students so that they can choose how they want to be successful in life.
All right, thank you. Director Baginski?
Okay. I kind of, not as many as Aaron got, but I kind of came up with No Child Left Behind. Voices heard, listeners, and then community skills. Especially being in an ag community, that we can provide a lot for the ag community and whatever aspect the community is asking for. And we can provide those skill sets.
I had a safe environment for all students, equitable for all students. Community was something I heard a lot of earlier, and I think that's very, very important, that the whole community is involved too.
I started with the first bullet point to think about, like, why do we exist? And it also made me think of, like, roles that we have as moms and dads. Like, what are we doing for these kids? And so I thought, like, why do we exist? We're here to serve. We're here to educate. We're here to love. We're here to push, to connect, and to empower. And then I agree with everything that has been said thus far. I focused more on, like, why we're here, and so that was my list.
Because you guys beat me by a lot.
Because I took your pen.
I had family, impact, life, where we want them to be, what they're striving to be at, the impact they'll have on themselves, their family, their community. Sense of belonging to this community. Those are the ones that I would put on there.
All right, Katie, what do you have for us?
Coming as a student, I feel like this mission statement will help the community and the teacher and student relationship. So I included inclusivity, having that sense of belonging and being able to bring different groups of people together, and having that open-mindedness, a great support system, both at home or in the classroom environment. I also included safe and a positive environment as well, being able to learn in a positive environment to promote growth, and as well as safety, being able to learn in a safe environment, diversity, community, which I've been hearing a lot as well, and passion.
All right, Sebastian?
All right, so primarily we should be focusing on working together, community, staff, and students. So some of the words I put is participation. We need to have everyone participate because there wouldn't be any progress if nothing was accomplished. Another one I put was rigor, since we need to push students past their limits so they can learn to achieve out of their limits. Another word I put is inclusivity, so we can have students believe that they belong there, and they do. And another one is belonging, which derives from inclusivity, so we want to let students that they matter and that we're there to support them. Collaboration is also another one, since staff, students, and community members need to be collaborative in order to accomplish a common goal that we have. And the last word I put was wisdom, since we need to know how are we going to help the students, how are we going to help contribute to their learning or their environment.
We should have started on that end.
Started with Sebastian, yeah. All right, Dr. Campbell, we've been through the 5 board members and the 2 student reps.
Okay, so we will have those words typed out, and I will work with you, Superintendent Perez, on our next session with a small group to craft up a mission statement that gets the big ideas Won't get all the words you said, but we'll get some of those big ideas that we heard, those themes that we heard, to craft the new Othello mission statement.
Excellent. We're looking forward to that.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Any other questions for me?
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a real treat. I've just really enjoyed the work in the district. As you can see, we've got everything mapped out, and we'll be coming back to you, board members, in May with the completed strategic plan. And one of the things that you'll be able to have assurances of is it will not be something that you can say to ask, staff, have you heard of the strategic plan? Anyone who hasn't heard of it has not been in the schools, because we have made sure we have really worked to do a broad canvassing of your entire district so everyone feels a part of this process.
all right. Thank you, Dr. Campbell. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talk soon, everybody. Take
Take-
care and stay safe.
All right. Well, thank you, Ken, for letting us go through that process. I think it's important that the board certainly gets an update on the work, but also that you contribute to it. So we'll take all those words that you shared with us, and we've got them all down and bring back something for you to take a look at. Okay, appreciate that.
Any further comments or for that? Okay. Next, we'll go on to policy review.
One step above that, if I could, Ken, on district priorities. It'll just take a minute. I wanted you to be aware of, we have been having some conversations in the district about some of our students with special needs who have been housed at Wahitas and at Lutakaga, and what's the best system to provide some continuity for them and their families, but also to make sure we use our facilities in the most appropriate way. So a concept was shared a few months ago about moving some of our students and families that currently go to Lutakaga and moving them to Wahitas. There would be more opportunities for those students to be included in specials. They spend much of their day in their classrooms. Life skills or self-contained environment. So, and that can be a challenge at Lutakaga because of the dual model. So one of the things we're going to be asking the board to consider and that we're going to move forward on is putting an additional portable at Wahitas and moving some students over there so that we could run a program that's better for kids and better for families. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, and why I tied it into PLC, it really came up in the principals having a conversation about the student experience, what we just talked about here. Is this the right thing for our families at Lutakaga? Can we create a better student experience? Let's get the principals in the room together and talk about that. I think it was a really good example of the evidence of folks coming together, keeping students first, and saying how can we support that and what change do we need to make. So I wanted you to be aware of that.
So which program is this that's moving?
We'll be moving from self-contained from Lutakaga over to Wahitas.
Will that include their teachers?
Yes.
Okay.
How many number of kids, if that, by chance, if you know that?
I think that's been one of the difficulties. Yeah, it's 20 to 25, but one of the challenges is how many students are in preschool? How many do we expect to come up? But we think with where the numbers are headed that this makes the most sense for those kids and those families. Okay? Thank you, Ken.
Okay. Now we'll go on to policy review. First readings on the 3000s. Are we getting close to getting them all covered here?
We're getting there. Don't hold your breath, though.
Again, this is first reading. If we get a chance to read through them, if there's any additions, corrections, or questions on them, please get back. Because next meeting they will be on for final. Okay, we'll go on to upcoming events. Of course, this Thursday, the 29th, the community night. March 11th, next regular board meeting, site visit on the 18th at DOHS, and then the second meeting of the month on the 25th, regular board meeting. Is there anything else to add to this?
I think just once we've decided on a date that works for the Open Public Meetings Act
Training.
training.
And have we got a date set up yet for picking scholarship recipients yet?
May 7th, wasn't it?
I know we have,
April 22nd.
April 22nd.
and just kind of a quick reminder, because the week following the 25th, we do have the NSBA after that. Okay? If there's no further items to add on to that, we'll go on to board self-assessment of the meeting.
Very well planned agenda.
It was a really good update from Dr. Campbell tonight in the
Yeah.
process.
Also, thank you for letting us be a part of being able to help out with that plan for the future.
Letting the students participate in the keywords.
Appreciate the update tonight, Pete, on the K-6 alignment too. Anything else? Okay. So at this time, the board will recess into executive session for 60 minutes to discuss the performance of a public employee